So just as I did a boss guide for Lostbelt 6 Part 2, I'm also going to do one for Lostbelt 6 Part 3. Now, there's not a whole lot of difficult fights until you get to Chapter 29. And this is when you just hit the ground running because it is boss after boss after boss. You are basically in a boss rush at this point, and some of these fights can be a little hard. I do think they kind of work you up to the fight that everybody knows is coming, the Serranos fight. And then the fight that's after that is not the most difficult thing ever, but it's still a little hard. I guess, I suppose people might need a little bit of a heads up for that. And I was like, you know what? For people that haven't played this, I've done this twice on JP. Let me give them a little bit of my advice. But before we start getting into that, if you have not already, make sure to leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel for that daily FGO content. I want to make sure that you're always informed on what is going on both versions of the game. Also, if you want to see me play FGO live, I do that every weekday, and you could find that on my Twitch, which is linked down in the description down below. But let's start getting into this. So the first major boss battle that you're going to come across, like there's a large dragon and stuff that you have to fight earlier before this, but this is the main one. You're going to be fighting against Albion, and I guess I should say, as we're moving forward, expect spoilers, right? I don't want to have to try to like dance around and be like, who is Albion's remnant? I wonder who that could be. You know, I'm not going to dance around it. The first fight is Melusine. Now, what makes this fight a little bit more difficult is that you have to protect the ship that you're on, you know, like the storm border that you're always flying around in, and that's kind of like your base of operations and stuff. You have to protect that because as Melusine is attacking you, she's also attacking the storm border, and if it goes down, you auto lose the fight, right? So that's what makes it a little bit difficult. I know when this first came out on JP, I struggled a bit because I was like, oh, you gotta like burst Melusine down. You have to take her out pretty quickly. Now, a very nice thing is that Castoria's invincibility that she gives on her NP, the Solemn Defense, that can actually protect the storm border, and they do provide you a very powerful Castoria over here, about as strong as they can get, right? Level 120 NP5, that's going to be giving you a 50% attack buff on your NP if you need that extra damage, and then it doesn't really change the Solemn Defense, it's still on overcharge and everything, but her being level 120 also means that she's going to be a bit tankier, right? She's going to have some real nice stats, so she should be able to withstand a couple of hits. Not that she should be taking too much damage anyway, because again, AoE Solemn Defense will probably keep you going. Now, her actual effects of what Albion Melusine actually does, not all that bad, right? Like, so she has this like stacking buff over here that she's going to get at the end of every turn. It's not too bad. She has evasion for 5 hits once you break the first bar, but you can realistically just bring like a Pierce Invul CE and you can get around that, or you can have a sure hit CE, you can bring that as well. But I say Pierce Invul because there is that Altera CE that is in the Rare Prism shop, I believe, that starts you off with 50% NP as well. So that's really easy to use, but you probably have picked up a Pierce Invul CE somewhere, and if you're really annoyed about this defense buff over here, you can like plug suit out for, say, someone with a defense piercing CE, right? Something like the Ronnie CE that gives you special damage mod against Berserkers. That's really not going to matter for this fight. It's just going to be the defense up, right? But realistically, you just want to burst her down as fast as you can. Now, initially, this is going to be a little harder for some people to do because she does start off at 400k, but you'll see that unlike most bosses, as you're fighting Melusine, and this is so depressing, but she gets weaker as you fight her, right? And obviously, once you break the third bar, the battle is actually over, right? It's super depressing. You know, I don't know why Nasu is making us go through this, but yeah, the fight actually gets easier as you go through because sure, she is stacking this Draconic Soul buff over here, but if you can burst her down in theoretically even 3-turner with a very strong say Servant with the damage mod, right? If you've got someone like, I almost said Surtur, but Sigurd, right? She can easily take this guy out because she has the dragon trait over here, right? Arthur, this might be his time to shine for some people. he does have the damage mod against super large, but I wouldn't advise it. He's not all that great, but realistically, no matter who you actually end up bringing, they're going to have damage mod against Albion because she has this threat against humanity trait over here, and that is something that Castoria will give you on her third skill. I believe it's only like a 50% special damage mod, but it's not all that bad. Like, it should be enough to kind of carry you to victory, right? Especially if you can combine that with, say, going after Dragon, right? I mean, Siegfried's still not like the craziest until he gets his Trom buff, but you could still probably take him to victory because everybody's got like 85 billion copies of Siegfried, so you could probably win with him. She's not all that bad. It's more of like a teaser for what is to come, because then we start moving into a couple of the harder fights over here. Now, this one's actually not all that bad. I don't know if I should really cover this one, but the next main one is the Bargus fight. This is the one that I actually want to talk about, because, this one ends after everybody's defeated anyway. You don't actually have to beat it. It's like the triple Morgan fight. Doesn't really matter if you win or lose, right? Because you lose anyway. That's kind of the whole point of the fight. This is when things start to get a little bit difficult and, dare I say, a little bit annoying, because this is one of those fights where they force you to bring all three of these guys over here. You gotta bring Mash, Gawain, Lancelot, and you get no supports for this battle, right? These are your guys you got to bring to fight Bargus. Now, that might not be too bad for some people. If you've got a stronger box, you've been playing for quite a while, Bargus might not actually be all that difficult for you to take down. But if your box is a little bit weaker, maybe you just started playing for the anniversary, this is probably going to be a killer for a lot of people, because you really need to do those double setups with your smaller, like weaker box, because you need that power from the double really OP supports. But hopefully you might be able to take advantage of one of these damage mods over here. They're a bit more forgiving on this one. For instance, if you did pull for Morgan, she has the Faye special damage mod. Again, here's another one. If you want to bring Arthur and really fit that Knight of the Round Table aesthetic, you might lose if someone actually gets a clear with Arthur, like an NP1, NP2 Arthur. Post that in the Discord. I'd love to see that, because I imagine it's going to be very difficult for this fight. But again, if you have your own Castoria, unfortunately they don't provide one for you for this fight, but if you do have her, she can easily start mopping up Bargus because of this Threat Against Humanity buff that she gives to everybody, which is like free damage mod in the fight, because you're going to want that because she's a little tanky. She's not as bad as Melusine starting out at like 400k HP, but she's still a little beefy. You're going to want to try to take her out pretty quickly. Now, thankfully, she also has this demonic trait over here, and we do actually have some people that are good about this. I would go over, say, like Suna over here, or maybe I would talk about, Ram over here, but let's be realistic. There is one standout guy that could absolutely crush this fight, and that's going to be the boy Super Orion over here, because not only is he an archer, and she's a saber, but he's also got that demonic special damage mod. And you let that boy get like 1-2 NPs, and he's going to start mopping up Bargus quick, fast, and in a hurry. Now, she does have some very annoying effects, as you can see over here. Definitely a lot more going for her on this one, because she specializes in one of the most annoying things I think a boss can do. Say it with me. She has the ability to remove your buffs. Not only on a break bar over here, do keep this in mind. When you break this bar, she's going to yeet all of your buffs off of you. So if you're not like timing and managing her own NP very well, and she's about to fire an NP, and you're like, don't worry, I got Castoria's NP already lined up, assuming you got your own Castoria, and you're like, I'm all good to go. Nope, that's all going to get yeeted off, and you're going to get smacked really hard. And then not only on top of that, did she like remove and take out 3 of your guys, but then she's going to increase her strength over here, right? Because then she's going to charge her NP again for everybody that she beat, and then she's going to give herself more attack. It can get out of hand very, very quickly. But not only does she do it over here, but it is a skill that she's going to cast over here, and she'll cast these in order, and this is definitely one of the more annoying ones. You do got to kind of manage these ones, like where she's like sucking your party's NP and then gaining a tick herself, because, if she gains a tick and then, auto NPs your entire party, you got to be ready for that. They did try to make the Knights of the Round Table over here not the worst people on the, the worst companions to bring. This is something I wish they did for Musashi during Shimosa's, actually give her like specialized buffs. Like, you couldn't have even given her, say, like a class neutrality against Tomoe. You just kind of left Tomoe over there to die, or not Tomoe, but Musashi over there to die. That's a little mean. It's a little mean if you're going to force her to be in our party. But as you can see, you got Lancelot over here. He's going to be getting a lot of NP gain, which is going to be very good, because that's going to allow your Lancelot over here to rip and tear through Bargus if you do want to try to use him. Lancelot's a very easy servant if you've never used him. If you're a more new player, you just click all of his skills. Like, one skill gives him battery and it gives him stars. One refunds stars, every single turn and gives him some crit damage. And the other one sucks up all the stars for himself. So if you see like arch chains and stuff, you're going to be all good with that one, right? Like, you just keep kind of spamming his arts cards and try to crit Bargus down as much as you can if you're going to use Lancelot over here. Gawain is not as effective. The 10 stars every single turn is nice and kind of sustaining your party, but I think Lancelot is definitely way more important to keep around, because not only does he have that single target damage, which isn't the greatest, I'm not gonna lie, but he is a single target, so you'll be feeling him do more damage to Bargus. He's gonna give her increased damage taken, which means every time he fires his own NP, everybody's doing more damage. And the fact that he's giving you 10% NP at the end of every turn, I think is more killer, right? So if you gotta find someone to sack off, it's definitely probably going to be Gawain, unfortunately, because Lancelot, even though NP5 is not the craziest, I really wish they would have made these guys at least level 90 or something, at least grail them, because they could definitely use it. He can probably put in a little bit of work for you. But again, you probably do want to start focusing on some of these special damage mods. And God forbid you got Super Orion on your GSSR, you're just going to start smacking Bargus. The only annoying thing is that Super Orion likes to stack up a lot of buffs and just go wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And she's going to be removing your buffs. So you got to kind of manage when you're losing your buffs and everything. But he should still be able to get the job done. But now we're moving into, well, not, this is, okay. This is the barrel fight where he takes over, what is his name? The wolf dude that we like had like 10 nodes of trying to fight, like, Woodwose, that's his name. He takes over his body and then, you know, you have to fight him for a little bit, but it's not all that bad. Like, as you can see, it's kind of like Woodwose fight kind of 2.0, like he's got the guts again and he's got a couple stacks of them, but this really isn't all that difficult. You basically, whatever you kind of did to mop up Woodwose, just try to bring that again. If you have the Kirei, not the Kirei, the Kiritsugu CE, the one that gives you the special damage mod against the casters, Origin Bullet, that one. It's a 5-star CE that basically gives you damage mod against casters. If you have that, really good for this fight. It'll just basically be kind of Black Grail, but not really, but it'll be good because it's a special damage mod. So that's kind of nice. But I even forgot this fight was here because I don't even really remember it. Now, we got the Big Mac Daddy over here. Once you do this one, you're almost done. But Serranos is the one that I think a lot of people are actually dreading. And yeah, that's for good reason. This guy definitely does a lot for this fight. Now, you can only choose the NPC servants for this. Thankfully, you got another really good Castoria over here. And there are so many different methods of taking this guy down. Basically, the main thing that Serranos is going to be doing this entire fight is he's going to be throwing a lot of curses around, right? He's going to be throwing curses all over the place. That's why someone like Castoria is very good, because you want to keep those curses off your side of the field. The more curse that's on the board, the less damage this guy is going to be taking. So one, you got to start managing those curses. You got to start using your debuff removers, guys that are immune to curse. You got to start just using anything you can to mitigate the amount of curse on here, because he's also going to be getting stronger as well. The other thing that can make Serranos very annoying is that he is immune to pretty much everything, right? Like anything that you would do to try and, I don't know, gimmick your way through this boss, it's not going to work, right? You know, you can't just remove his buffs. You can't stun him in place and like get free turns. It doesn't really work like that. So if you have like a plug suit plan or something along those lines where you're like, oh, I'm going to plug suit this guy out and then, you know, maybe I'll get to use the stun to try to take advantage of that as well, it's not going to cut it. That's not going to work against someone like Serranos. There are quite a few servants that I think can be kind of decent into this battle. I've never used Van Gogh for this fight. I've always been ill-advised from doing so, but I have talked to some people and they have said it is kind of nice at being able to manage the curses, I suppose. So like that might be an interesting idea, but one person that I have used to crush this fight is Yang. Yang is very good for this because not only is he a berserker and she's a foreigner, so she takes reduced damage from this guy, but you can just start laying the pain on this guy because as you'll see, one of the few things he's not immune to over here and all this just layers of text that he's got going, he's not immune to being burned. And that's really good because if you take a Yang and you take a Honey Lake CE that gives her an even more big special damage mod against burn guys, you can really cut down on this guy's HP. The other thing is like, yeah, as you can see, is not immune to like poison as well. If you want to do something with, I don't know, Robin Hood or something weird like that, he's not immune to that stuff. So statuses can actually be specifically good for this fight if you have a servant that can take advantage of them, right? Again, I've been ill-advised of using Van Gogh in this fight, but apparently she can kind of help you put in some work at managing the curses and everything. But realistically, after that, it's kind of standard fare for boss stuff. I'll actually maybe give you a little bit of hope on this one. His HP bars aren't that big, right? Like as you can see for the first three, these aren't anything that you haven't been able to tackle before. It's just the last one can look a little bit daunting because you're looking at about 500,000 HP, and that is quite a lot of HP to have to chew through, especially after you've gone through all three of these, right? Like your team's probably going to be looking a little worse for wear. They're probably getting cursed down a little bit. They're taking passive chip damage. you might not be looking too hot, right? So I can understand getting to that last HP bar as looking really bad. Now, if you don't have a whole lot of pride and you're just like, man, I don't care about using the blue cubes, then by all means, use those Spirit Vein Stones, get in there, just nuke this guy into the ground, and then go about your day, right? Like, if you just pull up and you're like, all right, I got my, I don't know, whoever your best nukers are, your Skyhawk or something, I don't know. You just bring her and then just be like a nuke a layer, and then even if everybody dies, I've got like 7 Spirit Vein things, so I can just do this 4 times and I'm going about my day, right? You just, whoever you can to kind of take advantage of the stuff that he's got. Although, I don't think this counts as divinity because that's divine spirit, but you get the gist of it, right? Like, if you could take advantage of these special damage mods and you don't care about using the Spirit Vein Stones, just bring real big DPS guys that can take advantage of this. He's got demonic like Bargus over here, so all the same things apply, but then again, he's a berserker, so now all of these people are just a lot better into this fight. I don't think someone like Super Orion would be a very good strategy if you're going to be doing this thing of using the Spirit Vein cubes, because you kind of have to set up Super Orion. Like, you want to fire at least like 2 NPs for him to really start going, and then if you get destroyed by Serranos, then you got to reset all that up again. But as long as you can... Oh, no, never mind. He has divinity. I knew I said Skyhawk for a reason. I'm not crazy. I was like, dude, I know that, like, Skyhawk can, like, really nuke this guy for damage. And, like, I know from the story that he is, like, a divine person. I was like, oh, but it doesn't say divinity. It was literally right there. Look, sometimes we have little brain farts and, it's whatever. But anyway, yeah. Like, realistically, that is a strategy for you, but if you want to go in here and you want to try to actually beat him, just make sure you're managing your curses, right? People that have Yang will definitely have a lot easier of a time going into this fight, but realistically, most of the foreigners will probably be decent enough into this because they can cut down on a lot of that damage that Serranos is doing. I'm not sure how well someone like Abigail will do, like the original one, because her kit's not super insanely great. Like, it's not bad. I don't want to rag on her too hard, and I'm sure you can get it clear using the original Abigail. She's got like consistency, I suppose, in being able to, like, oh, she can like charge NP every single turn. That's good. You have constant sustainability, so I'm sure you could get working with that, but you want to try to take advantage of that as well, right? And okay, for what it's worth, that Ronnie CE that I was talking about as well, that gives you the special damage mod against Berserkers, that is good here. If you use that for the other fight to get past the defense, you can use that over here to take advantage of his Berserker class as well. And then also just remember that, yeah, while he is a Berserker and he can hit all of your guys really hard, that goes both ways. So any of like your best DPSs that you've got, you can bring them forward and take this guy down, right? Because everything down here, standard fanfare over here, right? Like, oh, you break his bar and then, oh no, I'm sealed for a turn. Like, that's not the most annoying thing on the planet, right? He's not like yeeting all of your buffs over here, and he's not just gonna auto fire an NP or anything, right? Like, you don't have to deal with that. The main gimmick is really managing all these curses, because you will take a lot of damage. I know the first time I ran into this fight, I got absolutely cooked by these curses, because I was like, he's just doing a couple of curses, it's fine. Like, oh, you gotta take like a little bit of damage from me, ooh, 500 HP, and then it started turning into like 5,000 HP, and I was like, this is no longer sustainable, and why am I now no longer doing any more damage? So manage those, you'll be all good, because as you can see, nothing else here is super duper insane. Now, we kind of have the last big major Mac Daddy fight over here, and that's against Oberon. Now, Oberon's not that bad of a fight, especially after you come out of Serranos, because as you can see, he's smaller than Serranos is, and with one less break bar as well. But there is no freebies. It's not like, oh man, you break his first bar and you're all done. It's easy. It's like, no, you gotta go in here and you actually gotta fight this guy, right? You do have to legitimately beat him. The good thing is that they're going to give you a free Castoria over here, and that can be very nice because Castoria is just a good unit for a lot of these fights, but at the same time, again, look at that. Oh, threat against humanity. All these guys have threats against humanity. Who knew that all of these guys would be specifically weak to Castoria? It's almost like it's storybook. But yeah, like Oberon, you can mop up with that Castoria. So realistically, anyone you bring, quote unquote, has a damage mod against him because of Castoria, but there's other things to take advantage of as well. He's chaotic evil, he's an earth attribute, he's a male, although I think really the only person with male special damage mod is what, Tomalancer? Let me actually double check that here real quick, because I don't want to like okay, well, no, there's Yugioh. How could I forget about Yugioh? How could I forget about her having special damage mod? I just don't think that she'll cook up the Oberon fight. Maybe she will, actually. Maybe if you bring your Yugioh and you got the free Castoria, maybe he will be able to do it, because as you can see, bro is not debuff immune. Like, you could just go in here and I guess charm him down with Uriel. You know, similarly to the other one, if you clear this with like a Uriel Castoria team, let me see that in the Discord, which is in the description, because I think that's just funny. It's like, yeah, we got like the main end villain for Lostbelt 6 getting beaten by quite literally a little baby man over here. So I don't know, I just think that's entertaining. But as you can see, nothing real insane over here. You just gotta watch out for this. Make sure you don't get absolutely clapped by him firing this giga strong NP over here. But here's the thing, you can give yourself Pierce invincibility all you like, Mr. Obussy over here. You can give yourself all the Pierce defense you want. If you're not removing my buffs, then Castoria is gonna absolutely cook, because she has this thing on her overcharge called Solemn Defense, and that does not bypass it, right? So he's got like some effects, but realistically, look at like the little that Oberon actually does over here compared to Serrano's. Like Serrano's, it's like this whole game of like, well, he's got 3 layers of curse on each person, so he's got like 90% damage reduction. It's like, great, I can literally do no damage. But Oberon, even his skills aren't like super conducive to being annoying. Yeah, he's got 2 skills that'll charge his NP, and this will like translate to him giving himself more crit damage. And I don't think this like makes him actually stop, because that'd be really ridiculous. Can you imagine he gives himself End of Dream and then he just sits there for the rest of the battle? That'd be hilarious. In fact, the other funny thing is that he'll give you invincibility as well whenever he fires his NP. So he'll fire an NP on you, give you invincibility. As long as you can tank that first hit, like with a Castoria NP, then you're like safe for the rest of the turn. You will be sleeped and everything, but it's whatever. You're still going to be alive, right? That's the main part. So it's like, yeah, Oberon's kit isn't even like super conducive to being like that annoying as a boss, right? You could absolutely cook this guy up. As far as like how difficult things are, I think Serrano's is taking the cake for being the hardest guy, but I do think the Bargus one is one that you should look out for, especially because you can't bring that support and you're forced to have 2 guys. I gave Lancelot a lot of praise, but let's be realistic here. It's not exactly like he's the best person for the job for taking down Bargus. It's definitely a little bit annoying that they force those 2s on you. Then I'd probably say Oberon, and then Melusine is like the worst one. Because the worst part about the Melusine fight over here is just that, like, if you don't know that it's kind of a quote-unquote timed battle, then yeah, it can be very, very annoying. And you could get like real shooketh as to like why you just suddenly lost for no reason. But once you know that you just gotta go in there and burst her down, easy peasy lemon squeezing. Now, the other thing, I guess, for Oberon as well, just to kind of give you guys one last little thing for him, I forgot to mention this, is actually his class of Pretender. I have the Oberon video ready, but I'm waiting for him to actually release where I go over the stuff for the Pretender class. But the Pretender class, just think of it as the opposite of alter egos, right? Like, as you can see, they're able to do good damage against the knight classes, but they do less damage against, you know, your cavalry classes, right? So if you can bring one of these guys and they happen to be able to just like cook this guy up, you should be all good. Also, you can bring foreigners, I suppose, as well. That can also be pretty nice as well. You could just bring, I don't know, any of your foreigners. You could bring Yang again and just absolutely cook this dude up. That might be kind of funny. It's like, not only did I cook you up with what's it called? I cooked Serrano's, but now I'm going to cook up Oberon as well, which was ironic for story reasons. Not that, well, you know, I'll let you read it. You know, I'm not going to go too in depth. This ain't a lore video, let's just say that. But with all that being said, I think I've given you guys all the tools you need to kind of go in there and start beating up these bosses. I hope you guys have the best of luck, and when Oberon does come out in the next couple of days, fingers crossed, hope you guys have good pulls on him. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day, and let me know how those fights went in the comments down below.